LOLhsc tips. Short answer style questions. Short answer style questions would usually be experienced in subjects including science as well as in the humanities. And to effectively accomplish short answers in an exam, practice questions are a must. It is important to get into a system of attempting, marking, and correcting experienced past questions in either the HSC or trial papers, as an emulation of what type of questions would be faced in the exam itself. The first stage in this is actually attempting the question, then marking it based upon the criteria that is provided, and finally correcting it by comparing it to sample answers that are also provided. This accomplishes numerous things. Firstly, it can cover any things that you have not considered in attempting the question, and thus increasing and filling any gaps of knowledge that you might have. It also demonstrates to you what a marker may be looking for in a particular question, and this can further aid you in answering future questions in the shoes of what the marker might look for in those as well. In terms of essays, which usually can be seen in subjects such as English and the humanities, it is also essential to complete practice questions. However, before this, it is even more essential to complete essay plans. These plans should cover important information, themes, quotes, and sources, and thus justifying particular points that you want to make with very good evidence. Thus, the plan should follow a conventional essay style. This would include a good introduction covering some main themes that you could address, and each of these themes should be targeted themselves into topic sentences, which are also justified by several points, representing paragraphs. These essay plans can form the foundation of answering questions, and instead of simply memorizing an essay in itself, these plans can be adapted much more easier to questions than a straightforward rote-learned essay. However, saying that, it is also important to actually do essay questions in a formulated essay by using these plans. Completing questions. In the actual question, it is important to know your verbs including things like explain, justify, or evaluate. However, saying that, not all questions will address verbs, so be wary of that, as some questions will address terms such as how or why. When you are actually doing the question, the first step would be to highlight the key verb if it is present, and identify the requirements of that verb. Identify what explain means, cause and effect, what evaluate means, assessing in terms of criteria. Underline other keywords and make sure that each necessary point in the question is addressed. This is necessary so that no information that is being looked for is actually missed out. And finally, do not omit any necessary information. By this I mean, if you know something and it is relevant, concisely include it into your question as it might be addressed in the marking criteria. Make sure you fill up all the lines that are provided. Essay timing. Organize time allocations before the exams. By this I mean to know the sections that will be present in your exam. Most exams will have things like 3 or 4 independent sections, and make sure you allocate and know your own abilities. Practice handwriting and speed as well. This is particularly evident in essays. For example, if you allocate yourself 40 minutes for a particular essay, try finishing it in 30 or 35 to gain an extra 5 minutes for either correcting or even dedicating it to future essays in that exam. Know the syllabus. Make well-detailed, justified, and sourced with examples notes that are based upon syllabus dot points. Saying that, knowing is not the same as memorizing. Make sure you actually understand the syllabus rather than simply memorizing it and regurgitating it in exam. A good way to ensure that you have done this is actually explaining it and practicing it with others. If you explain concepts to others, particularly people who have not grasped the concept themselves, and if you can teach it to them, that means you actually know the material. And finally, HSC questions today. It is important to recognize that they are not a regurgitation of memory. Understanding a concept is essential. There is a practical application of knowledge, and it is important to practice, practice, practice.